Okay, welcome everybody. Come on in. All right, I'm going to try and see as everyone is coming in here if this is going to let me share this onto the Women in Publishing Summit page. Last time it would not let me, but we'll see. Yes, it will. Okay, so we are going to go live so that everyone can benefit from this should they want to. So that is going live. How's everybody doing today? You can open up the chat box and say hello. I am very good. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate that. All right, so I am going to get started very quickly here. We have a lot to cover in a short time frame and beautifully rainy morning. Luckily, we have a beautiful sunny morning. Okay. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, well, you know me by my emails because I send you a lot of them. I'm Alexa Bigwarfe. I'm the CEO and founder of Write, Publish, Sell. Welcome to our Write, Publish, Sell community members, and also the host of the Women in Publishing Summit. So I wanted to give just a little bit of a disclaimer, caveat, whatever you will, at the front end of this presentation. It is going to be very value packed. I'm going through all the things, talking about a lot of things that you know, but I do want to let you know I'll be highlighting sessions and sponsors from the upcoming Women in Publishing Summit. The original idea behind having this presentation was that often there's a lot of, I wouldn't say overwhelm, but maybe anxiety over choosing the sessions that people needed. And also we have all these wonderful sponsors and sponsor offers, but our community raised the questions last year of when do we need these sponsor tools? Should I be buying them now? Do I need to wait? Do I need it at all? So we decided to do this particular presentation as a way to help our attendees see where the sponsor tools fit in the process, as well as helping them maybe determine which sessions to help out. And then I thought, well, we're providing such good information in it. I'd really like to open it up to everybody, because even if you're not attending the conference, you'll get a lot of value from the information. But I did want that to be a caveat so that you can see that. And if you want to attend the conference, ticket sales are still on. It's virtual March 6th through 9th. We have a coupon code to help you save a little bit off of the pricing right now, and Raywin will be dropping all of that in the information in the chat box for me as well. All right, so that's the caveat to it so that everybody knows where we're coming from as we do this presentation. And again, I promise you will still get lots of very valuable information from this, and maybe you'll be turned on to some tools that you weren't aware of so that you can it didn't go live. So that you can see what things you need along the way. Okay, let me get going here. I'm going to present a Canva presentation. I'm going to tell you, sometimes Canva and I do not get along well when we get in here. I'm going to be in full screen. So if someone can just give me a shout out in the chat that you can see the slides and that we're all good. I'm going to get started. Okay, everybody can see it. Here we go. I'm going to close the chat box because I get distracted easily. There is a Q&A box that you can use to put your questions. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please drop them there and I'll try to get through as many of them as I possibly can. All right, so here we are to talk about your publishing plan, the 6 stages of production and launch. Excuse me, I let you know who I am, and just a couple of things about me. You already either know me from Write, Publish, Sell or the Women in Publishing Summit. You may not know, I also have 2 publishing houses, 3 technically, but one is really small and only has 2 authors in it. But with Purple Butterfly Press, we have a very robust children's book publishing company. We also have Biggie Press, which is a mostly publishing inspirational grief, healing, support, entrepreneurship books, mostly by women. Excuse me. I'm also a publishing and book marketing consultant, and I am also an author. I have authored books across the spectrum, from nonfiction, grief and loss, to collaborative parenting books, to resources for writers and publishers, to my own fiction books. So I am in there in the trenches with you all, in addition to publishing all of our own authors. And for a long time, we did self-publishing support, assist as well. So we had the opportunity to work with a lot of books. And over the past 10 years, we've helped thousands of authors through our courses, coaching programs, publishing. And so I have a lot of information to share with you. And I don't know why that went backwards. Let's see. Like I told you, Canva and me, we're not always good friends. All right, so let's talk about your publishing plan. It is so incredibly important, and I will reiterate this in another slide, that you come into this, if you've decided to write, publish, and sell a book or many books, that you come into this as knowledgeable and educated as possible. I am extremely passionate about people being as educated as possible about all the many things, because like any other industry, like any other anything, there's some bad apples out there. There's some really bad deals, and there's some really bad information out there as well. So it's very important for me to offer this type of training as often as possible to help you navigate and hopefully avoid some decisions that can be very costly, frustrating, heartbreaking in some cases, and make sure that you have the tools that you can, so that you can make the best decisions as possible. The more you know, the better you can plan. And so many authors just think about writing their book until they're done writing their book. And I want to try to impress upon you today that you've got to be thinking about the entire spectrum, from writing all the way through post-launch, when you're thinking about your book. Even if that's not what's consuming you the entire time you're writing, you don't want to get done writing your book and then have no idea what to do next and realize, oh no, I'm like months behind where I could have and should have been, and really delay that process for you. So we're going to talk about how the routes to publishing impact all your choices. I'll talk briefly about that. We're going to talk about the 6 stages of production and launch. And then, as I mentioned, weave in some of the best tools for you along the way. It's also critically important that you consider budget. I wish that I could tell you that this was a free process to do this, but there's absolutely no way you can do this for free. And by for free, I mean time as a consideration. It's going to take a boatload of your time investment, but financially as well. At a minimum, every author should have their book edited, a professional cover, and a professional formatting. Now, some of you may know how to format books, and that's okay. You can do that on your own. There are some really great tools out there like Vellum and Atticus and other tools that will help you if you have a very simple, either just a regular fiction book or a simple nonfiction book. So that is one that you may be able to just invest in the license of the tool and save yourself some money there. But covers, y'all, I mean, are critical. And having a well-edited book, you will just kill your chance of success if you publish a book that is just not what people are expecting in terms of quality. And we've had some experience in that, so I know this. So you need to be thinking about, how am I going to come up with the money to fund this? What am I going to be able to do? And how long is it going to take me based on what budget I have available? Just a ballpark out there. You can do it less, you can spend far more, but a ballpark minimum. I have a hard time imagining how anyone can publish a book these days without spending at least $2,500. Yes, you can take shortcuts and you can reduce that in many, many places, but just editing alone can run easily $1,500 or more, depending on the type of editing. Now, this is with first book. I'm going to tell you that as you publish more and more and more books, you start needing less of the support elements. But, between cover, marketing, and we think, when, you think about the things like hosting a website, hosting an email CRM, maybe if anybody's helping you do all of these types of things. So please know that if you don't have that kind of budget ready, to start thinking about how you might be prepared for that. All right, the routes to publishing will make a big impact on a lot of these types of things. For example, if you're self-publishing, you're going to need to at least be directing all of these things. Again, you'll work with an editor. You don't have to do the editing when you're self-publishing. That's not what self-publishing means. Self-publishing does not mean I'm going to do the whole darn book all by myself. Self-publishing means I'm going to load it to my own accounts. I am the publisher of my book, and I will maintain 100% of the royalties that come through that. But you're going to more than likely be using a team of experts to help you in all the major elements along the way. Then there's assisted self-publishing. This is, you're still publishing on your accounts, you're still getting 100% royalties. However, you may hire a company to do all the back end work for you. They may do the cover design, the layout, the formatting, the editing, helping you do all the things behind the scenes. They are companies that can do a la carte services or the whole shebang for you, but it goes up on your account and you still maintain the royalties. Hybrid presses are presses that operate by and large like a traditional press. However, they're partnership publishing. So that means there's a fee exchanged to publish with that hybrid press, largely because a lot of hybrid presses work with either new first time or publisher authors who have fewer than 3 books, and there's a lot of back end work that goes to grow the audience, to make sure the book is put in all the right places. There may be printing costs, there may be a lot of things associated with it, and a lot of times these authors don't have a guarantee to sell thousands and thousands and thousands of books. So it's kind of a shared risk, if you will, on the costs associated with it. Hybrid presses are a wonderful opportunity because many of them have traditional distribution, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And also have built up catalogs, have built connections, have built networks, and can market those books and get them out into the world in a way that self-published authors struggle with in their first few books. And the other thing is people that don't have time to learn everything on their own and don't even want to deal with publishing the book to their own. They see the benefits of being part of another publisher's catalog. They see, benefits of being under a publisher. So those types of situations make hybrid. And for those who are not having success getting their book into the traditional lanes, but don't want to publish on their own, often choose the hybrid route. And then we have traditional, and this is what the movies are made about. You get an agent, you get a contract, you're with a publisher. They're going to run the show, and you're writing the words and they're running the show. But the one thing I want to say about traditional, two things I want to say about traditional, depending on your genre, it can be extremely difficult to find a traditional deal. It can be very, very time consuming. And I guess there's 3 things. And you still have to do the lion's share of marketing on your own. So keep all those things in mind. But the reason that it's important to kind of have an idea of what you want to do is because what you're responsible for in your publishing plan is going to vary greatly on which route you choose. For example, if you go hybrid or traditional, there are a lot of things like ISBNs, like covers, like formatting, editing. You won't have to manage those things. Those will all be managed for you. So if you can think ahead of time, and you don't have to make up your mind immediately, but if you start going down the process for trying to get an agent traditionally published and you're just not having success, you might consider hybrid, and then you might consider self-publishing. And you can always go back and do all of the things that you would have done that you're not going to do if you're traditionally publishing, like buy an ISBN, like all of those types of things. All right, so just something to keep in mind. This is a fun slide, isn't it? Thank you to Raywin, who is helping me host this meeting today. She is our graphic designer and created this for us. And it is a very fun imagery of what is happening along all the stages of book production and launch. So don't worry, I'm going to go through each one of these stages in detail right now. Okay. One thing for you to note is that while I have them set up in a winding road, as you will, there's a lot of overlap, especially if you're self-publishing, because you may be writing and starting your marketing. You may be writing and getting your ISBN, your metadata, setting up things like that. But for the most part, this is from start to finish where these things should go, but there's going to be places that may bleed into each other or happen simultaneously. So it's really hard to give like an A to Z chart of what needs to be done in what order, because some of it, as you'll see when we get through the slides, can be happening simultaneously. Some of it needs to happen before other things can happen, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so in stage one, writing, I think most of us probably have a pretty good handle of what's going to be happening in the writing phase. You're writing, but you're outlining, you're brainstorming, you're plotting, you're creating that first draft, you're doing some self-editing and revision. You should also be considering feedback groups, writing groups, book coaches, accountability coaches, other types of coaches, a publishing partner. All of these things can start in this writing phase. So the writing phase is going to take you as long as it takes you. I have people who have written books in a weekend, and then there's people like me who it took them 5 years to write their first fiction book. And I talked to a woman the other day who has an author who spent 50 years writing his book. Our goal is to make sure that none of us are stuck on writing our book for 50 years, but just know that the writing process takes you the time, and you shouldn't rush a good book, although at some point in time you need to say, do I want to publish this or not, and get moving forward. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to go through our sponsors and other tools that come along in the writing phase. So Autocrit, if you've never heard of them, it's such a cool tool. I'm not going to get into the weeds on the details of all of these sponsors. I just want you to hear the name and associate where they come into the process. This tool can help you write, analyze, revise, do chapter breakdowns and analysis, do synopses. It is a really robust, really amazing tool. And I had fun playing with it the other day. So many cool things. It can help you think of what next ideas, all the things. Self-editing is a Pro Writing Aid is also a wonderful tool for revision, grammar, repeated words. It is a very robust, very in-depth tool that will analyze your entire document and come back with all of the things that you can do to fix your document. Now, the more time you spend in self-editing and revision, the less money you're going to spend on an editor and the editing process. So that's really important to keep in mind when you're thinking about where to invest your time and money. This is a place that can have huge results on the back end, because if you can get it as cleaned up as possible before you send it to beta readers and before you do those types of things, it will save you a lot. So if you're stuck, if you feel like you're not seeing the results you want in your writing, if you feel like you've used the word sandwich 700 times, Pro Writing Aid can help you clean those up. Of our sponsors for coaching, feedback groups, writing coaches, writing tools, we've got Heart of the Story, Inkworthy, Word Essentials, Her Narrative, Get It Done. Scrivener and Plotter are not sponsors this year, but they're tools that a lot of people like to use in this brainstorming, writing, organization type thing. So it's good to be aware of all of the different tools that you might need through these stages. What happened there? I think I either went backwards. Okay. So for those of you who are looking forward to the conference, I tried to break these out a little bit, but as you're thinking about what you need to be working on now, if you're in the stages of writing your book, there's a list of beginners where you may be thinking about, how do I even write a well-structured scene? As you're moving forward with your writing craft, it's really important that you continue to develop your skills, especially for fiction. But you know what? Nonfiction books need to be well-written stories as well, well-written content. So thinking about memoir mastery, how to make sure you're writing your story so that it sells. That may seem like something you think about at the end, but in actuality, some of those things you need to think about at the very beginning. Who's my audience? Who's going to want to buy this? How do I think about that as I'm writing this story, as I'm putting it out there? Writing about grief and trauma in fiction and creative nonfiction. If you want to write about these topics, you can start doing sessions to get into what it really takes to build a book around those topics. Writing for young readers. There's a lot of people writing children's picture books and middle grade and early chapter books that need to know what types of things should be in those books. And believe it or not, it's more than people realize sometimes. creating believable characters using Myers-Briggs, which is a cool spin on that. But you want people to love or hate your characters, and it's really important that you're thinking that in there. As you get a bit more advanced, as you're writing and really honing your skills, you're going to get in there to really deepen your writing craft. So really reviving those characters, how you can use body language, how you can create more compelling novels, how you show, not tell, how you can use poetry and prose to enhance your fiction and create nonfiction. And then if you're really excited about taking your book from the written page from a book to the screen, how do you write screenwriters? We also have general topics in the conference, and these are more going to be focused in the writing craft, more on writing routines and creativity growth, and how to mindset type things and productivity type things. So these are when you're in your writing stage, these are the types of things you're going to be thinking about. All right, then we move into editing. Editing, self-revision kind of pulls over into this, but editing, we're going to be most likely working with others. So you're refining your draft. This is where beta readers are going to come in. Beta readers, for those, or even alpha readers get to see the whoa draft. Yeah, the first people out the gate to give their feedback. Then beta readers get a version that's a bit more refined. Their goal or role should really be to help you take that manuscript and fix all the holes before you go through developmental editing or your copy edits if you're not using a developmental editor. So you really want to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself with too many people. We're talking like 3, 4, maybe 5 people that will read your manuscript. These usually are other authors or people in your target audience, or people who are going to read and help you without charging you money, which is a good thing as well. And they'll provide their feedback to you so that you can do one more round after seeing their feedback before you then move into your developmental editing. Developmental editing takes your book and makes sure that there are no holes, that characters are developed, that the storyline is developed. You get the hint here. That's why it's developmental. It takes that manuscript and makes sure that it connects well, that it does all the things that it's supposed to do. After that, you revise as many times as it takes, without taking 50 years, please, to get to the point where you have a manuscript that is ready to go to your copy or line editing. This is going to be the cleanup. This is the grammar control. This is the citations. If you've help with citations, if you have those things in your nonfiction book, this is the final check to make sure that your book is ready to go. It's not looking at character development or story development. It's looking at, do your words make sense? Like, are they written grammatically correctly? Are they what we would expect of a professional book? You can also start getting, after this phase, analysis and manuscript critiques. And depending on who you're working with, those will be a little bit different. It can be manuscript critiques for like strength of like what type of editing you need, or it can be a story manuscript critique. There's a lot of varieties in there. So again, with our sponsors and tools that go along with these places, Pro Writing Aid and AutoCrit are great for refining your draft and analysis. Beta readers, growing beta readers, you can use a tool called Story Origin, which is similar to BookFunnel, will also allow you to grow your email list, but you can also solicit beta readers through it. Your editing, our editing companies, we have First Editing, Speak, Write, Play, Heart of the Story. Phoenix Rising also does some editing. A lot of our self-publishing assist companies and many hybrid publishers also offer a la carte services. So you can always check and see what services companies like Publish and Lulu and other self-publishing assist or publishers are doing a la carte, which means they may offer those services outside of a publishing package. And then AutoCrit and Inkworthy for manuscript analysis. Some of the types of things you want to consider at this part of your publishing plan for learning. What do you want to learn about? These are sessions that we have up and coming. How to set and spend your editing budget wisely. This is so important, and I'm so glad Danielle's covering it this year, because a lot of people have absolutely no idea how much they should be paying for editing, how much they should plan for it, and of course, creating that budget around it. How to polish your book, how to get it to that polished gem, all the stages of book editing. If you don't understand the difference between developmental copy, line, proofreading, all of those things. Joella Nordstrom of First Editing is going to cover that. And then the editing rules to follow or disregard. I think this is a great one too, to know where you can color outside the lines, if you will. And Ethlyn Sawyer from Speak Right Play will be presenting that. I love this topic from Catherine Pickett, getting the most out of your beta readers and manuscript assessments, so that a lot of people have the question, well, I'm using beta readers, what are they doing? And what do I do with that information once we get it back? And then this one is a gem, the art of giving and receiving feedback, because all of us authors at some point in time will likely be helping other authors via either writing critique groups that we're in a part of, or as a beta reader, or any of those things. So how to give constructive feedback to another author, but also how to receive it when you get feedback from someone. This is really important to think about. And then on the for our professional track, we are teaching editors, publishers teaching publishers, all of those. We have how to do developmental editing for copy editors and adding editing services. So if you've ever thought about doing that, that'll be a great session. And amplifying the author voice through skillful editing, I think, will be another great one. All right. Then we move into stage 3, production. And again, I highlighted this piece in particular is going to be very impacted by the route you choose. Now, the writing and editing, it doesn't really matter which route you go. You're obviously going to have to write your book, and for any route to publishing. And then the editing, every agent I have ever talked to has told me if you're submitting to an agent, it needs to be a polished draft, especially your first 5 pages. So you will probably have to spend some money on editing. Not probably, you most definitely should spend some money on editing before you start pitching to agents. They get so many, I can tell you as a publisher, so many submissions. And if you get a book that there's problems in the first paragraph, it's gone. Your chance is gone. You're just moved to what's called the slush pile, or out of the slush pile into the no pile, and you've lost your shot with that particular agent. So those 2 stages, you're going to do regardless. Then when you get into stage 3, production, if you're planning on working with a publisher of any type, a self-publishing assist, a traditional or a hybrid press, there's a lot of these things that you will not be responsible for. Self-publishers, guess what? You either have to pay somebody to help you through these, or you have to do them. Of course, you're going to work with professional formatters, with illustrators, with printers, with distributors, with all those types of things. So you will need to learn what you need to do or hire someone to help you. At this stage, we're finding an agent if you're thinking about going the publishing route, traditional publishing route, or you're looking at publisher options. If you're self-publishing, getting your format files formatted, your cover designed, your interior formatted, once you've got your polished version, of course. You're thinking about your metadata, ISBNs, pricing, categories, keywords, description, all of those types of things. You're working with your illustrator and formatter if you're doing a picture book, getting those files finalized, thinking about how and where you're going to distribute your book, which is the next stage. Looking at printers. Are you going to do an offset run, or are you going to go print on demand? Offset is highly recommended for any type of specialty or full color books, children's picture books, cookbooks, journals, things of that nature. But most fiction and nonfiction standard books are great with print on demand, but you may decide that you want to do a print run for your ARC copies, your advanced reader copies, or to have a little bit of a break on a price if you want to order 500 of your own books for doing a speaking event or going out to different places where you're meeting readers and selling your books. You're also thinking about your website already at this point in time. That's not book production at all, but it's something that needs to be considered at this point in time, because you're going to start your early marketing. Now you've got a manuscript that's going through the final stages of being ready to put in the hands of readers. You're going to start thinking about your advanced readers and growing that team of people who are going to read your book early, different from beta readers, because they're not expected to provide feedback. And in fact, if you haven't gone through, most books have not gone through the final proofread. So you want to make sure your ARC readers know it's an uncorrected proof. They're your early readers who get to read it, so that you have people to help you share about your book at launch time. and leave reviews as soon as it's published or early on Goodreads. You're thinking about how you're going to get those ARC copies out, how many people you want to get on your launch team, how you're organizing your launch team, how you're bringing them on in. You're really looking at market research right now and making sure that your book is going to be in the correct market, that you've got the right cover for the market, that you're looking at the right categories, that you're doing all your things like your blurbs and your hooks and your sales page copy, and all of those types of things need to really be done while your book is in the production stage. All right, so again, following our theme here for the companies, tools, and sponsors that we have for these stages, finding an agent or publisher, your book is your hook, works with authors who want to find agents for all the full spectrum, from traditionally publishing books through getting your book on Netflix, made into a Netflix series. They do a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. Creative Blueprint is one of our sponsors who does formatting files, interior cover, all of those types of things, can create graphics and other things of that for you. Working with your illustrator formatter, we have Children's Book Mastery, Old Media, TLC Books. SCBWI is not a sponsor, but they are an organization, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, that if you're in the children's picture book world, you need to be familiar with and get on their website and look at all of their stuff. In terms of printers, distributors, there's Ingram Spark, MCRL is a printer, Lulu, Publish, and other publishers can do printing and obviously distribution for you. Distribution means how and where your book gets out into the world. We'll talk about that in a minute. PubSite is a DIY website builder specifically designed for authors and publishers. So it's a really cool tool and has all the things that authors need for book sales page, for your e-sales, for your connecting all of your shopping carts and all of those types of things, for doing a blog, for events page, if you have speaking events or events where you're going to be at the library or having a launch party or doing any of those types of things. A book funnel, excellent tool for distributing your ARC copies out and also for growing your launch team. And we'll talk about them more as well on the marketing side. And then for audience growth and not for audience growth, but for market research, especially when it comes to what keywords and categories are going to be the most successful for you, which is a huge part of your marketing, even though it's technically metadata. If you're not putting your book in the right audiences, it's going to be really difficult to market it. So Publisher Rocket is a great tool for finding the right keywords and categories that will help you with that. Some of the sessions that we have coming up on production are a routes to publishing panel. If you have a lot of questions about which route to go, we have people from all routes who will be in that panel talking about it. Picture book design and production. If you're looking for information on book formatting and design for children's books, being successful in self-publishing and all the tools you need to know, Chelsea Bennett from Lulu is going to do a great session on that. If you're thinking about going with an agent, Lucinda Halpern is going to do a session on turning your ideas into a winning pitch. If you want to go with an agent, that's a session to attend for sure. This one I'm really excited about. Atticus is a new formatting tool. I guess it's been around about a year. It's created by Dave Chesson of Publisher Rocket. And one of his team members, Monique Danielle, will be there to talk about formatting your book using Atticus. I've never seen a session on formatting with Atticus, so I'm particularly excited about this one. A printer's guide to offset printing your children's book. If you decide to do an offset print, which means not print on demand, what do you need to know? These are important things as you're moving forward and deciding how and where your book is going to be printed and distributed. And then that market research, from data drama, leveraging your market research to create best-selling fiction is important to consider and know. And then on the professional track, great topic here for publishers who want to publish the romance writers, growing your publishing house with romance writers and keeping them, which is very important for publishers. Okay, and then we move into distribution, the publication and the distribution. What is the difference between publication and distribution, you ask me, and I shall tell you. Publication is literally just the date that that book is published on. So your launch date is your publication book. Publication means it is available for sale. It has been published. People can buy it. Distribution is how it's put out into the world and where, more importantly. So you can be solely distributed on Amazon, which means that your book is available for people if they go to Amazon, or you can be distributed through a wide network of sales platforms. So you can be through all the Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, every little mom and pop bookstore, all the indie stores, bookshop.org, Target, Walmart, all those places. In order to do that, you have to go with a global distributor, which would be Ingram Spark. Drafted Digital is growing in their distribution, but right now Ingram Spark is the largest global distributor and has the most tentacles out into the world of all the places. So if you're looking to have your book outside of Amazon, you have to look at going through a distributor of some sort. And recently they've started adding their own shopping carts on Ingram, which is a totally different story. But anyway, then you have traditional distribution. So you have the self-publishing distribution, which gets you basically available into all of these markets and platforms. So if you're distributed through Ingram Spark and I go to Target online and I look up your book on Target or Barnes and Noble or Books A Million or bookshop.org, I will see your book to be able to order online, but it's not going to be in the store. With traditional distribution, this is the distribution that publishers use. Your book is actually, first of all, there has to be a print run done of the book. There's no print on demand with traditional distribution, at least not as of today. And your book you'll have a print run, and then your book is shipped out to the places, and they order usually through either Baker and Taylor or through Ingram Spark or other places of that nature. So for most of us who are self-publishing or even working with a small publisher, you don't necessarily need the traditional distribution as much, but if you're doing again, those specialty books, children's picture books, cookbooks, journals, anything like that you want a higher quality printing, then you will probably want to look at traditional distribution. As well as for children's books, you really want your books distributed to a couple places like Baker and Taylor and Follett, where a lot of schools and libraries order from that you can't get through the print on demand distribution. So that's something to consider as well. It's expensive. It's a long process. There's a lot to learn. I'm just telling you about it today, mostly for awareness of what that means. But it would be a long conversation to get into all the ins and outs of that. You're also finalizing your metadata. Again, metadata, if you can imagine your card catalog in the olden days in the library, all your key information, the keywords, categories, title, pricing, author name, subtitle, short description, all of those things, your metadata. And then you're thinking what formats, right? You're finalizing this. Hopefully you thought about your formats back in the beginning. Is it going to be ebook only? Is it going to be ebook and paperback? Is it going to be ebook, paperback, hardcover? It's going to be all of those plus audiobook. You're finalizing all of those things at this point in time. And then wide distribution, what I mean here is a lot of us who, there's two big options when it comes to your ebooks. You can either put your ebooks only on Amazon through KDP Select, which means they own the rights to publish your book on Amazon, your ebook, that does not go over to print book. So Amazon's the only place people can buy your ebook. Or you can do wide distribution, which means you get that ebook out in all the places, Apple Books, Google Books, Barnes and Noble, all the places your ebook is available there. There's a lot of pros and cons to either being strictly with Amazon or doing wide distribution, and that's something that you have to think about as well. Okay, so our sponsors and tools that go along with these, of course, Ingram Spark is our platinum sponsor and great partner for the Women in Publishing Summit and Write, Publish, Sell. There's Amazon. KDP is not a sponsor, but we wouldn't be where we are today with self-publishing if it were not for KDP. So obviously it's a tool that we use with all of our books and definitely want people to be aware of. Kindle Direct Publishing is Amazon, in case you're not familiar with that acronym. Then there's Draft to Digital, another company that is a distributor that works pretty much solely with indie authors and small publishers, and they do ebooks, print books, and distribution. Publish Drive is an ebook distributor. And then, of course, we talk about hybrid presses. If you're working with a hybrid press through the publication of your book, She Writes Press, led by Brooke Warner, wonderful, wonderful hybrid press. And not a sponsor, but a friend. Luminaire Press, Purple Butterfly Press, Emerald Lake Books, Top Reads, Old Mate Media. These are some of the other hybrid presses in our community. Then you have a bunch of self-publishing assist companies like Lulu, Publish, Old Mate Media does both, which is why they're in there twice. Children's Book Mastery, Phoenix Rising, Wonder Lady Books, Hybrid Global, Bright Communications, and Genium Books. There's a growing number of hybrid presses all the time, and self-publishing assist companies as well. And so, you want to be very educated on what it is you do and don't get with these, but we're really excited to have our publisher speed dating event in the conference this year, where most of these companies, those that are sponsors of our conference, will be represented and will be answering questions and talking to you. So I think that'll be a really great opportunity to see if a company like this could be a good fit for you. So what types of things should you be learning for if you're at the publication and distribution stage? All about Ingram Spark. This was an open webinar that Ingram Spark did, and it's available to everybody to see. It's important. It's important to know. And it's really important if you're trying to get your book spread farther than Amazon. And thinking about your marketing, you might think this next one is a weird one, what authors can post on social media before the book is published, but that's because you're going to be building your social media, your marketing, all of that stuff before your book is published. How to start a newsletter that grows your audience and gets more sales. Again, these things you want to be starting long before the book is published. How to know and understand metadata and how that metadata can really impact your discoverability of your book. Sorry, there's a typo in that word and I can barely pronounce it. But Kathy Mice of Publish is going to do that. And then more on the advanced track, we're looking more at growing our audiences through this stage as well. How to build how to build your fandom, your super fans, how to work with book influencers, because a lot of times you're going to be running, at least per my marketing strategy that I advise, you're going to start running influencer tours as part of the lead-in to your book marketing. So it can be done before the book launches or right at launch time, but you need to be setting these things up while the book is still in the publication for your publication stage. And when it gets published, you want these things to be going. How to use live video to grow all of these things. This is important too, getting out in front of people, growing your community as your book is publishing. What can you do? What can you be doing on video? And then, of course, book awards. Once your book is published, and actually even before that, a lot of book awards will accept a finalized book, even if it's prior to the publication date, as long as it'll be published within their window of time. How can those book awards help you promote your book? From the professional side, motivating your author and your marketing strategy for those of you who are self-publishing assist or publishers. Goal-focused distribution. How do you choose the distribution that's right for you and make sure that you're setting goals and distributing that way? I'm really excited about this particular one with Carrie Ray Barnum of New Shelves Books. And then the top tools you didn't know you needed for your publishing company. This one is great for publishers, but also for self-publishers, because a lot of those tools you may want to use as well. Okay. And now moving into the book launch stage. So as you've noticed in the other things, while book launch is at stage 5, there's a lot of marketing things that need to be happening. When we publish a book through Purple Butterfly Press, it's a minimum of a year from the time we acquire the author until that book launches. Largely because creating a children's picture book takes a long time, but a fiction book can take a long time as well. If you're going back through revisions and editing takes longer and all those types of things. As with nonfiction, pretty much any book can take as long as it takes, but mostly because we don't want to spend the time, money, and energy submitting a book, publishing a book into a world that no one has ever heard of it. And in order to make sure that people need to hear about it, you need to be starting early. You need to have time and space once your book is completed before the publication and before, to get that book into the hands of people to help you create buzz. You need to be talking about it on social media. You need to be getting out there, creating buzz, doing all of these things prior to launch, especially at launch, and then post launch, which we'll be talking about next. So you can be getting reviews, and not just reviews from readers, but trade reviews, editorial reviews, other types of books, submitting for those awards if you haven't started that process already. Working with your ARC team and your launch team, doing those review tours and getting the word out through other people who are talking about your book, social media, growing your email list, maybe doing some PR, definitely lots of marketing. Maybe you're starting to run ads, do other types of things at this piece, but it's all about buzz, 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 buzz for that book launch, which can be prior to the date of publication and shortly after is all in that book launch window. There are just a gajillion activities that you could do during this time to grow your audience and to make sure that your book is heard about by as many people as possible. All right, so our tools and sponsors associated with stage 5. Book Award Pro, Forward Reviews, Kirkus. Book Award Pro is a sponsor. The other two are not. But I just love the team over at Forward Reviews, and they gave a great presentation in last year's conference on editorial and trade reviews. For influencer tours, you've got Love Book Tours and Children's Book Review. There are others out there, definitely. Love Book Tours has a special deal for our audience, as does, no, Children's Book Review does not yet. Well, hopefully we'll bring them on next year. Then Busy Bee author assistance in your social media, in your marketing, in your trying to set up ads or grow your email list or all of these types of things. You may decide that you need help. And there are lots of people who would love to help you with all of those marketing and publishing tasks and social media tasks. So Busy Bee has a big list of author assistants out there. Your email list growth. So we talked about BookFunnel as a way to submit your book early for your advanced readers to be able to easily access and download your book. But this is a wonderful tool to use post launch and on forever. You can use BookFunnel allows you to easily set up a landing page and a way for people to get your ebook from them when they sign up for it. And it's just a great tool for building your newsletter list. You can participate in group promos where everybody's pitching their books in together and you're all sending people to go download the books. Those are free and paid. There's just a lot of great opportunities to use BookFunnel throughout your process. And we've been proudly using them for years. In fact, I'm launching the second book in my fiction series. It's on pre-order, and I set up my BookFunnel page the other day, not for the second book, but for a sample first chapter that I then added to the back of the first book, so that as I'm promoting the first book out there and people finish reading the book, I'm like, if you like this book, hey, go over here and grab your free chapter of book 2 to get them excited about book 2. So it doesn't have to be a whole book. It can be a short story. It can be an excerpt. It can be different things like that. So a really cool tool to help you with that. As you're looking at more visibility, PR, marketing, your launch strategy, we have Abundantly Social, we have the Front Porch Collective, we have Lit Launch that all work in these areas. And then if you're really trying to create a lot of excitement about your book and get more people that you, not excitement, of course, excitement, people are going to be excited about your book, but if you're trying to get more downloads of your book, there are these things called paid promo lists, and it's sites like Written Word Media, Fussy Librarian, Robin Reads. There's an enormous amount of these lists. And what they do is they go out and they collect readers who want free or reduced priced books. And then you as the author pay to be featured, and they send it out to their whole list for that day. And you go and get downloads. So I just did this with my book, 4 Days in Paris. And it's the third time that I've run it through Written Word Media. So I didn't know how many downloads I would get this time. And even on the third time, it had over 1,500 downloads free downloads on Amazon. So what does that mean? That means there's 1,500 people that now have my book on their Kindle. And yes, they got it for free, but if they read it, because it's in Kindle Select, I will get paid for page reads, and the hope is that they will also leave reviews. And like I said, I put in information about the pre-order of book 2. So when you're thinking about strategy, this is also stuff in there. How much can you get from all of these things as you're utilizing them? So I got over 30 pre-orders for book 2. I'm getting more and more reviews. So this really does work if you have a strategy in place. And we're talking planning, strategy. These tactics really do work if you're implementing the right things and if you have a book that people are excited about. Okay. In book launch, we have a ton of marketing stuff. I just grabbed a highlight of them, but days 3 and 4 of the conference are all about professional development, business growth, and marketing. There's some really good ones in there. Adapting your pitch to any marketing opportunity, what's working now, understand what's going on in the back end for SEO and TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all those things so that more people can find you, how to get on a bestseller list, how to blend your traditional and digital marketing into book launch, speaking strategies. This is part of marketing. It's also part of business growth. It's a part of a lot of things, but the more opportunities you have to get in front of more audiences, the more book sales you will see, or the more growth of your company, or the more of all of those types of things. And then on the professional side for publishers, how to motivate your author and marketing strategy. Trust me, sometimes that is not an easy feat. And then using PR to grow your editing, freelance, or publishing business. Another great topic. All right, finally, we make it to post-launch. So basically, after you publish a book, for as long as you want to see that book selling, or until you've built an audience that knows you to the point that people are seeking out your book and there's enough buzz just creating organic marketing, which can come quickly or slowly, but basically, I'm just going to give you a little side story here. I saw on Threads the other day, somebody, actually one of my friends who published a book a couple years ago, and she said, man, I published this book. It's such a great book. I had a wonderful launch. Sales were awesome. And now it's 2 years later and I just have to keep marketing and marketing. How long does marketing go? And I was like, marketing goes as long as you want to continue selling that book. And I said, think of this as an example. If anybody's been on social media recently, you've probably seen the mayhem that's happening with Dunkin' Donuts. And I call it mayhem because even though it's some of my favorite people that they're featuring, it's just a little wild. But look up Dunkin' Donuts if you don't know what I'm talking about. They have these god-awful orange Dunkin' Donuts tracksuits that they've got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and oh gosh, Patriots, Tom Brady doing commercials on and wearing their Dunkin' Donuts suits. And I mean, most of us have heard in the US at least about Dunkin' Donuts, right? And yet they're still investing a lot of money. Look at Coke, look at McDonald's, look at Taco Bell, look at anything that you're like, everybody knows who they are. Why are they still spending millions of dollars? Because guess what? If you're not marketing, people forget about you. I have a hard time believing people would forget about McDonald's because there's literally one on every corner. But there must be something to it, or these big companies wouldn't continue to invest this. So marketing, it's important. You cannot just launch your book and stop. You can, but your sales will absolutely stop as well. And that's a fact that I can tell you from watching it over and over and over. You've got to fall in love with marketing, y'all. This has got to be your BFF in life, and find ways to make it fun. The way I enjoy doing it is getting out and speaking to people, either on podcasts or on webinars or in summits, anything like that. That's really fun for me. I enjoy that. That's not fun for everybody. I know a lot of other people who are doing so well using their social media. I don't love making videos for TikTok. Yeah, I'm a pretty funny person on my own naturally, but the moment I try to be funny or do anything like on purpose on camera, it's not good. So that doesn't work for me, but I do have a team who's awesome at social media, and they market our other stuff and do things for us and create reels, and you can create reels that don't have you in them at all. So there's a lot of ways that can be really fun. You have to find what that is, figure out what you want to do with it, and keep doing it. So paid promos, again, I told you about the written word media. That's an excellent tool to get in front of thousands of new readers, podcasts, speaking events, book awards, movies, TV shows, and other sales of rights. You guys, there are so many things that you can do beyond just the publication of your book. And, whether it's foreign rights, whether it's rights for different things that can come out of, there are lots of different rights that you can sell to your book. So that's worth exploring. Um, this isn't really a marketing activity, but at some point in time, if you don't want to or can't do some of these things, you probably are going to need to look for support, growing your team, or working with other companies that do these types of things. And your email list is critical. Keep working on growing that email list. There's a lot of ways that you can do it, but this is an important thing to always be working on growing the email list and utilizing it so that you can market your books and other things growing that. Okay. Who do we have that can help you with these things? Front Porch Collective does PR and marketing, as well as Abundantly Social. I'm sorry that I left them off of there. They're our gold sponsor. Shame on me. Don't tell Amy. But Abundantly Social does lots of PR and marketing, paid promos, written word media, speaking events. We have we have 2 sessions in the conference on speaking, and Mic Drop Workshop is a sponsor as well. She does a wonderful free training that's available to you. Book Award Pro for your book awards, and also editorial and trade reviews. I'll help you find those as well. Your Book is Your Hook will help you if you want to do anything with rights, especially movies, screenplays, TV shows, all that kind of stuff. Busy Bee, author assistance, again, for finding your support, growing your team, and email list growth, book funnel. Some of the sessions that we have and things you should be thinking about learning in this stage: Amazon ads, any kind of ads, how to attract book clubs, how to harness the power of podcasts to boost your book sales. And you know what? I think I forgot to put the other podcast one in here, but we have another one that's about building a podcast book launch tour, which is really important. You're speaking, how to increase your book sales and generate additional revenue. And these will largely be focused at the nonfiction or business builders. However, anybody can be a speaker about any topic, and so many books, no matter what the genre is, can have a theme, can have a connection. You can do a speaking, you can do all kinds of things. Monetizing your book. What other ways can you make money outside of just selling the book? So that's a great thing to do, as well as you're growing your business, growing your author business, growing whatever business you have around your book. And then this is an advanced, because if you're already running Facebook ads and you're not seeing the sales that you want, we're going to look at how to improve the performance of ads that you're already running. And I can tell you that Facebook ads can be one of the most powerful tools in the world if they're set up properly and running in the right ways. So really great session there. How do you build a media kit? And this is specifically for publishers or people working with authors to help them get noticed, but also great information for every author who wants to know how to build a media kit. How to leverage LinkedIn for our professionals. For a lot of people, where LinkedIn is where your audience is going to be. Great session there. And then how to be successful at marketing your authors in in-person book signing events. So looking at, if you're going to places, like I often will go to an event and I'm marketing my authors' books as well. Again, this will be a great session for anybody looking at doing an in-person event. Okay. Well, I made it all the way through. I thought there was another slide in there, but this is our roundup slide that is specific to all of our sponsors, put in one place so that you have them in there. And again, this is not to try and sell you anything from the sponsors. It is awareness so that you know what kind of tools are available to you and what companies we endorse and work with and use. A lot of these companies I have used since I started my publishing journey all the way through, or shortly after, as I got to the place where I'm doing things, I've used them. So I want you to be aware of them. I also want you to be aware that almost all of them have freebies or discounts or special opportunities for our entire audience. For ticket holders, sometimes the deals are a little bit better, but most of the offers are open to anyone who has seen one of my presentations or is in my community. So if you're looking at needing any of these tools along the way, I encourage you to head over to womeninpublishingsummit.com www.writepublishsell.com/sponsors and check out what they have for you. And then now you know where in the process you need them and should invest in that money. And if you're not going to see or utilize these things for a long time, maybe you wait until a year or two later before you do the next piece of your purchasing of things. Okay, last slide. For those of you who are here who are not already registered for the conference, I highly encourage you to join us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to sell the conference, but it's a wonderful, wonderful event. It is virtual. Everything happens live in Zoom. We focus on good training and learning, but more so on community. We have lots of networking events. We have lots of opportunities where you get to meet this, you're in a live session with the speakers so they can answer your questions right away. We have networking and coffee chats, opportunities to meet with our sponsors so that you can say, hey, this looks like a good tool, but I'm not sure if it's for me. Can you help me understand? We have the publisher speed dating where you'll get to literally come in and talk to all the publishers that we have that are participating in that. It's just a really good opportunity if you're trying to figure out where you need to go from there. We do have a special coupon to help you out too, if that will be useful to you, Alexa 50. And I just want to also say that everything is recorded and you have access to it for a long time. So if you can't attend every session or if you can't attend every day, you'll still be able to go back and watch all of this training. And if you're not able to attend the conference, either you don't want to, you can't, you don't, you don't want to invest in a conference right now, you're not able to be there. I do want to encourage you to go over to womenandpublishingsummit.com/events, where we have every month we have at least one free event, sometimes 2 or 3 this month. I think there's 4. So, we always have things going on to help you as you're learning if attending a virtual conference isn't for you. So I really hope I'm going to go in and answer the questions that I see in the box right now. So, wow. It's 2:00. I usually try to run these for an hour. I'm going to hang out for a little while and answer as many questions as I can. And I'm going to eliminate some questions that are really in the weeds because we could get into some topics that we don't, our goal here was to make sure that you have a big, broad understanding of the entire publishing spectrum from idea origination all the way to post-launch marketing. So I have a lot of other videos on YouTube at youtube.com/writepublishsell. We have sessions in the conference that are going to go in depth on a lot of these things and other training opportunities. If you're on our newsletter with Write Publish Sell, we send out the Thursday email that always goes into detail on a lot of topics too. So just keep that in mind as I go through here. SEO versus ads. SEO is simply search engine optimization, which means how well your book or your content, your blog post can be found. Ads is paid to get people to those places. Okay, Wendy, I have 2 books coming out about the same time from 2 different publishers. Wow, you're an overachiever. One's late and one's early. How should I approach launching these? Oh boy. That's something I would want to think about and talk about a little bit more in depth without knowing anything else. I don't know if they're the same genre. I don't know anything else about it. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, but if they're in the same genre and similar topics, I would say pick one, market the heck out of that one, and then do like backwards marketing on the other one, where when you market it, when that one comes out, you're also marketing to the second one. How much money should we set aside when it's all said and done? Leslie, do you want the real answer? Do you want I'm trying to make sure you don't like have a heart attack answer. So in reality, I'm trying to think about how to say this very carefully because so many people will come back with all the caveats, right? There's a billion caveats. Well, my husband's an illustrator or my daughter is a graphic designer or whatever. Let's pretend you don't know how to do anything except for write your book and you have to have everybody else do all the things for you. Plus, that's just good practice to have a professional formatting, professional cover, professional editing. I don't see how anybody writing a fiction book gets out under $3,000. by the time editing's all put in there, by the time, you do all of the things, thinking about all the things. For nonfiction, if you're already writing a lot, like a lot of nonfiction people are experts in there. They have a lot of content that's already created. Maybe you have copywriters or people who are writing things for you. You're pulling together your stuff. You don't need a developmental edit. You just need like a copy edit, or sometimes even just a proofread. The editing costs can come way down, but usually those folks spend more money on the marketing and launch. So in general, I estimate about $5,000 per book. Again, with the caveats, yes, lots of ways to do that differently, but I'm including, if I were to really include everything, it's probably more than that. But by the time you think about ads, website, all the things. So if that is terrifying, and if you can't do that, here's my guess. If you can't plan for something like that, spend as much time as you can in the writing stage in feedback and critique groups. Almost every state in the US has some sort of writing organization. In South Carolina, it's the South Carolina Writers Association. We have small groups where we get together once or twice a month and we read and give each other feedback and critique. Use your beta readers. Have those folks really help you hone your craft as much as possible, which will significantly reduce your editing budget. Maybe you have author friends who are really good or offer editing services to the side. Maybe you can barter. Maybe you can do some other things. Use Pro Writing Aid, use AutoCrit. That will save you the money of really getting the book down, and you may be able to get your book to a point that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on editing. And of course, each book you'll get better because you'll be a stronger writing and your editing costs will come down. And then as far as the marketing and launch, there's a lot of things that you don't have to spend money on, but they will take time. So the longer you start, the more runway you give yourself in terms of building your launch team and doing all of those, the more you can save in marketing. There are lots of great companies that do high quality covers for $300 or less. Do your research on that, ask other authors. So there are ways that you can really cut down your costs, but it comes back to usually needing more time and definitely investing in the knowledge. I answered on the hybrid publishers. One of the best well-known is She Writes Press, but there's tons of just wonderful companies out there, and many of them are in our community. Do traditional publishers use ads to market? Yes. Yes, traditional publishers do use ads to market. I couldn't tell you specifically which ones they use, but they're putting a lot of marketing budget behind them, and it depends on the publisher. With traditional publishers, you have to remember you have everything from very small presses who publish like 2 to 4 books a year to, your Simon and Schuster and Random House and those who have millions of dollars in marketing and ad spend. So that's going to depend on company to company. What's the difference between a hybrid publisher and a vanity press? So I'm going to answer the second question first. How do you find a reliable hybrid publisher? Ask other people who've published with them. Do your research on them. Google their name and negative reviews, and get the hybrid publisher checklist from Independent Book Publishers Association. You can Google that, the hybrid publisher checklist, and make sure that you're answering questions and getting good answers from them. Most hybrid publishers will have some sort of distribution or a good print-on-demand solution that they're getting sales from. They'll have great covers, great reviews on their books, awards on their books. And when you look at their website, you can tell that they're, legit in the publishing business. A vanity press is, in my opinion, a self-publishing assist company that puts their name on the book, but does not always really operate as a publisher. And what I mean by that is that they have a publishing company, but they're not really in the business of editorial growth or really, seeing good things come from the books. They're in the business of making money from publishing books. So usually with a vanity press, their marketing is very cookie cutter. They may have a lot of different types of books that they publish. They have very, very high publishing costs, and usually require you to, buy a certain number of books or do certain number of things. They're not really, there's no editorial process. This is one of the biggest things. They will publish anybody who pays them the money to publish it. And they're not going to review your book to say this needs to be improved. You probably aren't going to go through an editing process. Like, you send them the book, they may do the cover, formatting, other things like that. But there's generally not a submissions process as in an editorial submissions process. It's usually you have a conversation with the people. If you guys feel like you're a good fit, good match, you pay them money, and then they do the things to publish your book. So again, any company you're considering, a lot of times they have pressure sales. So if any company ever says, this is our publishing deal and it's only available till tomorrow at midnight, run. If you get a, like, here's our deal, and you also have to pay $10,000 in book sales, run, things like that. Okay, let's see here. Where do you place Scrivener as a tool compared to the ones you mentioned? It's largely a writing and organization tool. So you can write your book in there. You can do your research and organize all your research. You can brainstorm. You can do all of those things. You can format. It will do basic formatting for ebook and print. But the thing with Scrivener, I know a lot of people in our community that use it and love it. I think it's a fabulous tool. It just has too high of a learning curve for me. So I've never really gotten into it. However, that's not discrediting the tool. I know so many people who just love it, and I have used it before. And in the beginning, I actually used it to do my ebook files. So it can be very useful for that too. Is there a tool for inputting a children's chapter book that will help making sure it fits the age you're aiming for? You're looking at leveling, what's called leveling here. And you're going to want to look at sites like, oh gosh, shoot, I just forgot. We use this all the time with the children's picture books, and my mind just went completely blank. But if you Google how to level my children's book, you'll find several resources that will help you out there. And there's a couple of companies that actually do this and have tools where you can enter the text and it will spit out exactly what age range and reading range it is. And if my brain comes back to me and I remember the name of, oh gosh, Lexile. There it is. Knew I just needed to talk around it for a minute. Lexile is a good tool for that. Okay, I'm not going to get into paying for editors because every editor is different. They will generally look at your manuscript and give you a quote. They should. Most editors will offer a sample edit and an estimate quote, and it will vary from editor to editor as to whether they do, excuse me, page, word, or whatever that is. So that's going to be a conversation you have specifically with the editor. Are these examples going to be talks? Yes, everything that I went over as a title are actual sessions from the upcoming Women in Publishing Summit. How polished does your manuscript need to be when an agent has asked to be a beta reader? Oh, that's a good question. So if your agent is specifically asking to be a beta reader, then they expect it not to be. So great question, Nancy, because here's the thing that I should have clarified. With fiction books, you submit a polished manuscript. With nonfiction, you submit a proposal. And so sometimes when your book goes to agents, when your book proposal goes to agents, you haven't even written it yet. So in this case, they may want to be involved in that writing process, or maybe you meet an agent at a conference and they're so in love with the concept of your book. They're like, sign me up. I want to be part of this. So, again, I don't have I'm not inside the minds of every other person. So all of these things are agent by agent, editor by editor, all the things. So when you go to research them, you're going to reach out to them or look at their website, look at their submission guidelines, and they will tell you exactly what they want and on what timelines. Please say more about metadata. We have a whole session in the Women in Publishing Summit about metadata, too much to get into right now. But if you go to our YouTube channel, we also have an older session that Kathy Mice did. So if you go to youtube.com/write, like WRITE, publish sell, and look up our videos for metadata, you can find another one there. Suggestions for cover art companies. Lots of cover art companies. There's Mibel Art. If you're a fiction one, that's MIBL. You can do 99 Designs. They do a pretty decent work. I had one of my book covers designed by 99 Designs. There's fresh designs. There's a lot of book covers out there. I would tell you to ask other authors who they used and follow up with them. Can you explain the issue with foreign rights? If I have a book that's available on Amazon in the UK, why do I need to have it published overseas? Excellent question. There is a difference between having global distribution through a US company or through a company in your country, depending, I don't know how it works everywhere else, but your book can be globally distributed through Ingram Spark and through Amazon, and you don't need any special rights for that. Foreign rights are when you actually sell the rights to your book to a publisher or agent in a foreign country, and they have the book translated and published through a company over there. So you no longer are the publisher, you're publishing, not publishing it. You have sold the rights to them, and there are all kinds of agreements that can come in with that. We're going to be doing a rights webinar at some point in time in this year. So, but that's the difference. You don't need special rights if you're distributing through a distributor, only if you're selling the rights to translate and publish your book. Is there a specific reason to print hardcover book first, or do you skip that phase? All of that is in that's part of your determination on what you think is most likely to be needed or wanted by your audience. So we're looking at with ours, we do all formats at the same time. We do hardcover, paperback. For children's picture books, I rarely do a hardcover for fiction or nonfiction books, but for children's picture books, we ebook, hardcover, paperback all at the same time. How do you get your manuscript to beta readers? That totally depends on how you're working with them. Usually I just email it or share a Google Doc. Only one example in paid promo lists. I went over several others. I forgot to type in the rest of them. Written Word Media is our sponsor, but there's a bajillion of them. Robin Reed's Fussy Librarian is another one that we use a lot. There's a lot of them. You can go also just Google paid promo lists for authors, and you can find a ton of them. And Publisher Rocket has a great blog post with a whole bunch of them on there. I thought LBT worked better for fiction and romance. It seems to be their focus from what I see. They do primarily focus on fiction and romance. However, we've had some very successful children's book tours and nonfiction books through them. So the thing with Love Book Tours is, while their primary focus there, they do all genres, and how they're set up is that they pitch the book to their audience of readers, and their readers determine what books they want to review. So if you submit your book to them and Kelly sends it out to her audience and nobody wants to review it, then then they're not going to do a book tour. But in almost all cases, we've done numerous genres and we've had good success through them, although there are more fiction reviewers and through that. So again, there's very few nonfiction book tours that I've come across that do specifically to nonfiction. And most of them do focus on fiction, and a lot of nonfiction books have to basically build your own book tours, which is totally possible. The WIP sign in the background looks great. I have no idea where I ordered that from. I got it a few years ago to take with me to events, and I don't know. I bet I could find the name somewhere, and I'll get back to you. Can I use a hybrid publisher with my own illustrator? This is completely dependent on the hybrid publisher. Some will take illustrated books. I used to back in the day. I no longer accept a pre-illustrated book. We do the entire process back end as part of our company, because we found that illustrations just weren't hitting the mark. So an illustrator through Reedsy may be good enough, maybe not. That's something, if you're interested in a particular hybrid press, I would reach out to them and find out, but that's going to be case by case as well. A traditional publisher will definitely not take a book that's been illustrated. With fiction, how much money just for that, and how would you prioritize which of your opportunities to go for first? I don't know what just for that is, and prioritize. It depends on your genre. It depends on your audience size. It depends on a lot of things. My prioritization is always finding readers. Whatever activities are going to help you find readers. How much money to focus on marketing? I mean, shoot, we spend between $5,000 and $10,000 per book on marketing. You don't have to spend that much. It depends on what you can do. Spend as much as you can would be the answer, and do as many activities as you can in building your audience. If you're doing a lot of these things, building your email list, putting your book on book funnel, going to events, meeting people, going on podcasts, these are all things that take your time, but will save you tremendous amounts of money. Do hybrid publishers get royalty percentage? Yes. So with the hybrid press, there is a fee, but then because of that, authors earn generally between 50 and 75% in royalties instead of 8 to 10% as they would in traditional. How do you do book review tours? Okay, so with book review tours, basically you find people who want to get a copy of your book, whether it's an ebook or the print book. You organize them and you give them all the assets that they need to post, and then you get that out into the world. We have a great session with Manon Wogan, who's going to talk about working with influencers during the conference, and I'm excited for everything that she does that. KDP Select, 5 days every 90 days. So I use them in chunks. So like last week, or a couple weeks ago, it was Valentine's Day. I wrote a rom-com. I did 2 free days, the 15th and 16th, and I ran paid promos from Written Word Media and Fussy Librarian. And then I will use those other free days periodically throughout. Or you can do it all in one chunk, but I don't like doing that. I prefer to have those days available spread out. Okay, let's see here. What do you think of developing book cover artists on Fiverr? You know what? It really depends. No matter where you're finding your book cover designer, make sure that they know industry standards, like what should be on the spine, what should be on the back, putting the barcode on there, all of those types of things. Look up the publishing industry standards. Again, you can find those on the Independent Book Publishers Association page, and make sure that they know how to do all those things. And look at their portfolio. If you like what they're doing, there are plenty of good freelancers out there doing wonderful things, but you just want to make sure that you know that they know what they need to do to get a professional book for you. Should you start social media accounts before starting an email list? Yep. And then use your social media to drive people to your email list. So basically start them at the same time if you can, but sometimes people aren't ready to start doing emails or any of those things, but your social media can be started now, and you can start building your audience. And then once you have something to send them to, you send them to that. If you want an editor for short stories, should that editor do all stories? I am not an editor, so I can't answer this question, but we have lots of editors in our audience, and I would say maybe check out some of their websites from our sponsors, and most of them have a contact thing. You can ask those questions, but my guess as a publisher would be you want one editor for each type of editing. So it might be the same editor might do your developmental and your proofread. Maybe they do both of those, but you want one, if it's fiction short stories, you're probably going to want a developmental editor who works on that, because they specialize. A lot of them specialize in their editing. And then, but when it comes to the copy edit, you definitely want one person there, because you want things to be consistent throughout the whole thing. You want them to be using the same rule book as they go through the whole book. So my guess would be that you use the same editor for whatever type of editing you're having done. Right now working on getting into Amazon. How do you find book bloggers to read and talk about it on Instagram? So again, this is a very, very detailed response. So because going into this topic of marketing and finding reviewers and all of that, we could spend and will spend hours and hours talking about. But the best thing that you can do is follow other authors who write similar books, follow readers who are posting, learn the hashtags associated with your genre, follow those hashtags, follow people who are using them, go out and see who's reviewing books, and if they have a social media presence, find them. You can literally go onto Instagram and you can search in the search bar, book reviews plus genre, or Bookstagram, romance books, Bookstagram, whatever it is, and start looking for people and follow them, and engage with them and get them to follow you back. All right, I made it through. Woo, okay, y'all. Oh, one just popped up. With pre-orders, how much? I don't know. One time in different versions. Okay, that's how you set it up. When you set up your pre-orders, you make sure that your publication date is the same for all of them, and then they will all publish at the same time. So, okay, got through all of them. Let's see, lots of stuff happening in the chat. I do have an incredible team. Thank you for shouting out Raywin in there. I'm so glad that you found this useful. And I'm gonna just quickly scroll through this chat to see if there's anything in here. Yeah, y'all, editing can be extremely expensive, because, and of all the places that you're spending your money, this is one that's worth spending it. But get multiple quotes. That's what get multiple quotes and multiple sample edits, because you and your editor are going to have a real special relationship. And by real special, I mean, you might want to kill her or him by the time it's done, because I'm just kidding. But seriously, like, it needs to be somebody that you feel compatible with, that you can take information from. So you can get quotes from as many people as you want and a sample edit. Usually they'll do up to 3 to 5 pages sample edit. And this gives you a really good opportunity to see what kind of information they're going to give back to you, how they're going to relate to you, how they give their feedback, all of these types of things. And also, I'm just here to say that in the freelance world of anything, pricing is all over the place. There are standards, and then there are what people charge. And so please get multiple quotes, because you might get a $4,600 quote from one person and an $800 quote from another person, if it's depending on the type of editing, and word count. It goes on word count, page count, all these types of things. But, take the time to find the right editor that is a good fit for you. And we have so many editors in our community, and they're so lovely. And some of them, go with an editor who knows your genre well, because there's a lot of extra advice that an editor who knows your genre really well can give to you. So a lot of things to factor in there. Yes, if you want to learn more about pitching for TV and movie concepts and foreign rights, or I don't think your book is your hook does foreign rights, but definitely pitching for TV and movie concept, make sure you connect with Jennifer Wilkov in the conference. Let's see. I'm excited, Karen, too. I'm excited to have you there. 20 books. Yay. Well, we got to get those sales up for you. Let's see. Lots of thanks. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, we did it. Just a quick reminder for any of you who are still hanging with me. We have, for those of you who have your tickets for the conference, our next pre-conference workshop is on Thursday. And we're going to talk about we have a panel coming in to give you tips and strategies for success in networking and virtual events, because you want to make all of these things that we're talking about. Guess what it boils down to? Relationships, community building, connections, networking, finding the right puzzle pieces. And so you want to be prepared to do that as effectively as you can whenever you go anywhere. So we're really excited about that. And then, of course, we have on March 4th, if you head over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events, we have a couple of free events before then too. We have one with first editing. So all of you guys asking questions about editing, we've got first editing coming. They're going to be talking about the role of AI in editing, which I am super excited about. I can't wait to see their take on the editing side. But you'll also be able to ask Joellen questions about other things. And she's doing a session on types of editing in the conference. But so we have 2 more free sessions available to everybody, and then 3 more. On the 4th, we have our big opening keynote with Stacey O'Byrne that I'm very excited about. She's going to come give us an inspirational how to take your inspiration and take action on that opening keynote. And that is free and open to everybody. So whether you're attending or not, I really hope you'll register and come to that. It's going to be wonderful. All right, I need water, and I will see you all Thursday, hopefully, and have a great week. Thank you so much.